Hello, everyone, and welcome to the One for the Dagger podcast, Feathered Flow, and the worst show in Chicago. I am Danielle, aka _Haver, and with me, as always, is _88 Showtime. That is Tommy. And then we've got Bryant _17, aka
Yes.
Johnny. I got that right, didn't I?
Yes. Yeah.
Thank God. I didn't want to repeat myself there. I would have been irate as fuck. But here we go. This is our show. It is insanely bad, but I got some insanely good takes for y'all today. I've been on Twitter recently, and as many of you have known, I have been bemoaning the absence of not Gustafson. Actually, I've been bitching about that in its own way, but not. I've been bemoaning the absence of Boquist. Not the presence of Gustafson, but of Boquist more than probably anything. And the thing is, a lot of my frustration comes watching these games and watching him log 20 plus minutes a night, doing what he does, and have people boast that, oh yeah, he's the 60-point top pair player that we all knew and loved last year. And I just don't see it. I don't know what he's doing out there. It's disgusting.
Well, he doesn't know what he's doing out there. So.
It drives me to drink, which is why I am coming to you blasted on this podcast. And holy fuck, man. Eric Gustafson, if you're listening to this, get it together, dude, because holy shit. Buddy, yeah. With like 20,000 commas. Get it together. Because Boquist is coming, he's gonna take your fucking job, okay? Voice crack included right there. And I honestly look at my mentions and I'm confounded by what I see, because it is just, oh, we don't need two Gustafsons on the team. Boquist can't play defense. Player. I want to hear everybody's thoughts about these, because God knows how many people have seen my tweets about it. But please, Tommy, if I could start with you, expand on the comparison of Gustafson to Boquist, no matter how much it makes you weep or bleed internally, via hemorrhaging. Just lead us off here.
Yeah, when I read that, I could not believe that somebody had the audacity to even try to make that comparison. The only similarities between the two of them is that they're hockey players. I mean, literally, that is it. Gustafson, he can't skate, he can't shoot. He can't move the puck well at all. He can't defend. And then on the flip side, you have Boquist, the absolute opposite. Great vision, great speed, great skating, awesome passing ability. He had that play in the preseason where he kind of like flipped the puck up in the air, caught it on his stick, and went around the net and then just sniped the top shelf. I mean, they're polar opposites. The fact that we're even talking about a comparison between the two of them it's absurd. I can't believe somebody even would think to bring that up.
The thing is, defensively, they're both trash, but just because the 19-year-old can't play defense means that the 28-year-old who should be able to can still play, despite the fact that he's slower and dumber, doesn't have as good a vision, doesn't have that same hockey IQ. Where is this translation being lost? Like, why do people think that replacing, like, even they won't replace Gustafson, they won't scratch him because the Hawks still believe he's like a thing, which he's not.
Well, not to interrupt, but I'm not even quite sure about that, because Carlton's already called him out a couple times this season already, and then maybe nothing, but the game Friday they went to overtime with Columbus. Keith started overtime with Taves and Kane, not Gustafson. And maybe that's nothing because Gustafson started overtime yesterday, but it's little things where, Gustafson's he's down on the not on the top pair with Keith anymore. They moved him with the Hanen. He's playing less minutes. He's playing like dog shit. And I mean, to me, it seems like Carlton's noticed because he's called him out already. So I don't know. I think he's on a short leash right now. I think he keeps this up. I think he's out of there. I think Boquist is up, and I think that's obviously what we all need at this point.
But the only reason I think he's immune from getting scratched is because of that 60-point season. I know that they've seen. Oh, I mean, you're right. I actually forgot that Carlton kind of called his ass out, but they still, are in the belief that he is an offensive defender that can contribute to this team. So I guess my overall point is, yeah, maybe they demote him like from the top pair to third pair. That'd be a fine move, especially if you paired him with somebody like Mata. But even if Boquist were to replace him, I feel like fans would kind of start to see exactly what the differences are.
The one thing that would happen would be is Boquist comes up as a 19-year-old. If he makes one mistake, any Eric Gustafsson defender is going to shit on him completely, and it's going to be really annoying.
Which is hilarious because Boquist, like you said, is 19 years old. He's allowed to make those mistakes. These are his first games in the NHL.
Gustafsson would never.
Yeah, Gustafsson's been
even though he has already,
and he has just been fucking horrific. I just don't what are the excuses gonna keep being? The fact that he has more NHL games logged, well, of course he does. Boquist is 19. This is the first shot he's getting. They have the same level of offensive output. That's just not true. I mean, for fuck's sake, you look at Boquist. He scored 20 goals in the OHL last year. I know it's just junior hockey, but seriously, for an 18-year-old, a defender, 20 goals, and then another 10 in the playoffs, which his total was 13 points that entire stretch. The kid has undeniable elite offensive vision, skills, puck handling, just everything about his offensive game is better than Gustafsson's. And you know what? Even if he does overcommit on a play, even if he does misread a pass on an assignment that he's been attached to, he has the speed to make up for it, whereas Gustafsson doesn't. Even if you give the kid a handful of fucking games, all you get is found money if he sticks, and you still have the fallback option of Rockford. This is not hard to comprehend.
And we wouldn't even be having this discussion or meltdown if they sold high and actually traded Gustafsson in the offseason or at the deadline.
I honestly don't get it. I really don't get it. People keep making excuses for Gustafsson and then making up reasons for why Boquist should remain in Rockford. He's wasting his time. You look at a player like Boquist, and he's a European import. Yeah, he had a full time of North American Ice last year where he got 60 points, but this is his first pro year. Of course, he's not going to be acclimated to it in 3 games, but he has shown that he can still provide elite offensive output in the NHL. Give him the test run. I don't care if it's 5 games. I don't care if it's 20 games. If you give him the time to prove himself, then you can properly evaluate him at not only a professional level, but you can at least cut down on the swill that you currently have on your defensive core. I don't give a shit if it's Seabrook. I don't give a shit if it's Mata. I don't give a shit if it's Gustafsson. I don't give a shit if it's especially fucking Slater Cuckoo. Get rid of these fucking pieces that do not fit your system. Give a kid a number of games to show what he can do. And if he sticks, and he's found money, period. Tommy, I'm going to defer to you because I need to settle down.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing too, is I don't care if he comes up and he screws up in the defensive end or whatever, because the good is going to outweigh the bad. The skills that he's going to bring them offensively, it's so much better than what they're getting now. I don't care if he fucks up in the defensive zone, because guess what? The other 5 guys are doing it too. So that really doesn't matter to me at all. And as far as Gustafsson goes, he's strictly on this team to be an offensive defenseman, and he's not doing it this year. He has been terrible this year. He's supposed to be helping the power play, and the power play looks as bad as it has ever looked. That includes the Quenneville era. He's not doing anything. He's not helping, and quite frankly, I don't think the effort's right there right now either. So if he's not even going to do that, get him out of here.
Get him out of here. Replace him with the kid. Please, God. Or Johnny, do you have anything to say?
We're all in agreement. You can just end the podcast right now. Like,
I wish we could, but there's more to talk about.
I mean,
because
there
holy
was
shit.
a 5-on-3 power play last week where he had the worst attempted zone entry on a 5-on-3 power play in probably the history of hockey. Like, it was that bad. And yesterday he's on the ice to open up overtime, and he's standing still behind the net, and he almost turns it over, for a loss. Like, what do you like? I don't know, man. Last year was a fluke. We all knew it was a fluke. Everyone apparently, except the Hawks, knew it was a fluke, and now we're seeing it. So
I would say there's a very, very strong section of hockey Twitter that would disagree with you because he's still the top defender that we knew and loved last year, man.
I mean, everyone's using the 60 points that he had last year. Okay, great, yeah, awesome. That was really cool. I want to know how many of those 60 points were when the power play was scoring at a hilarious 40% rate, and how many of those points came when Kane was in the middle of that 20 game point streak or whatever the fuck. Like, you know what I mean? Like, come on, like look at where those points were coming from. It was not sustainable.
You replace him with Cuckoo and like passing to Kane like that on the power play, anyone's gonna get those points.
I mean, Kane's the quarterback of the power play. It's literally give Patrick Kane the puck on the wall and stand still and let him do.
Watch.
I just had an epiphany. He's the Hawks version of Jonathan Chichu. You know that guy?
Yeah, that's a throwback name.
He scored like 95 points on the Sharks with fucking Thornton and Marlowe, and everybody thought he was God. That's Eric Gustafson, but on defense because he sucks shit.
On the first podcast, we were talking about how bad Mata and Seabrook were going to be, and like here we are, just dumping on 56.
Honestly, I thought only Mata was outstanding last night.
They're not that bad.
Okay, I've actually had pretty on the fence feelings about Oli Mata because I still do think he sucks, but I don't think he sucks in the way that some other people do. I think
he doesn't suck ass.
He is worse than Seabrook, which is impossible. That's never gonna happen. I'm sorry, but no. Oli Mata is like a decent defender. I've always thought he was like a number 5, like fringe 4 guy. I think it's only made worse that he has to babysit Seabrook for like literally every single shift of his Blackhawks career so far.
I thought he was very good last night.
I'll go on record.
He's been better than I thought he would be.
Yeah. I mean, and you just not. I mean, I know we don't want to spend the entire time bringing down Gus, and we could, but we're not going to do that. But
he sucks.
Let's bring him on the show.
Right. So, but what I was going to say is, he finally gets away from Keith, or Keith finally gets away from him, I should say. That's the way to phrase it. And Doug Keith fucking looked like it was 2010 last night. Like, holy shit, he was outstandanding. Him and Connor Murphy looked like they finally found a shutdown pair there, and then of course Murphy goes and gets hurt. But I mean, Gustafson, was he the one weighing Keith down the whole time?
I don't want to interrupt you, but the same guy who just tweeted me this evening about 2 Gustafsons being on the team with Boquist and Gustafson was also the same guy who tweeted me earlier in the month that Keith and Murphy don't work together.
Oh God.
Yeah, I know. So sorry. Go on. No, yeah, Murphy's been fantastic.
I mean, yeah, that was a pairing for what? I don't know, 4 games, 5 games, something like that, and they were awesome. And Keith, if you would have showed me highlights of that game and said, when is this from? I mean, I could have believed that was 2010 Tongue Keith. Like, he was that good last night. I mean, how much of his shit play last year was the fact that he had to babysit Gustafson the whole time? Because I'm kind of starting to think that had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, him and Yoki Harju, for as much as Keith didn't really care for playing with Yoki Harju, they actually played like pretty well together. Yeah. Because despite their sort of like play style differences, it kind of almost came to like an equalization where Keith still was able to do his thing while Yoki Harju was able to do his thing in like perfect harmony with each other. But no, Keith and Murphy is a pair that I've always sort of vied for, because Keith is kind of still able to do what he used to when he was a bit more of an offensively productive defenseman, even though he never was like the Scott Niedermayer offensive defenseman. He was still at least attempting to do that thing. And then Murphy is just the big fucking bruiser guy who can shut it down and play responsible hockey. That is what I've always loved about that pair, is it goes hand in hand with each other by default.
Yeah, I mean, Keith needs a guy that's going to play the free safety role. He had it with Seabrook when he was in his prime. He had it for the third cup run with Jalmerson, and he had it now for these last couple games with Murphy, and he looks like himself. He's not sitting back fucking babysitting Eric Gustafson or whatever the fuck else scrub that they've tried to put with him the last 2 years. You put him with a competent partner it'll be that free safety for him, and you let him skate around and use that mobility that he still shows flashes of having, and he looks like himself.
Now, Johnny, I wanted to defer this to you. Even though they have looked good together, it has to be broken up, quite unfortunately, because Murphy's gone down with an injury. How do you think this impacts that Hawks blue line?
Well, okay, so Murphy Murphy just got hurt, so yeah. DeHaan has also looked fairly nice, and Mata has been pretty good the last few games too, so I mean, you just have you have something. It's better than it was, but
you don't.
I don't know. Even if they bring up Boakfist, it just, who knows? Maybe he makes a mistake and he goes right back down, and they just piss on him. But it looks better than it was to end last year.
I got you, man. No, I mean,
I don't want Eric Gustafson anywhere near Duncan Keith, and I know Murphy's
never again. Please.
No, him and DeHaan they're fine, right? Like, I think DeHaan's doing a fine job babysitting him. That's fine. I don't want him anywhere near Duncan Keith. It limits him too much. I don't know what they're gonna do now. It sucks that Murphy's gonna miss this time. I mean, hear me out. I'm just throwing this out here. They called up Dennis Gilbert, and I know everyone wanted Boquist, myself included, but Dennis Gilbert's here. He's a big stay-at-home defensive defenseman. Is it outrageous to put him with Keith and see if he could be that guy that will sit back and play the more defensive role while Keith skates around and does his thing? Like, is that absurd? Like, I think it's worth a look.
I know what people would expect out of me to say, but honestly, I'm going to be in mostly agreement with you. I'd say no, it's not that absurd. Is because I'm not going to say it's easy to mimic Murphy's game, because you have to be at least somewhat mobile to play Murphy's game. He's an agile guy for a big defender.
Yeah.
And Gilbert, it doesn't seem like, as much as he just kind of sucks, he's not a total bum. He can kind of mirror the guys that he's playing with. And especially if it's a guy like Keith, that means he basically gets to sit back and play a more conservative game, which I think suits him well at an NHL level for this time that he's here. And even though he probably is going to be taking on top competition, at least top 4 competition, I think he can manage it well, because Keith, you saw it with Murphy, is still able to do a lot of the heavy lifting as long as he has a partner who's going to play center field for when things sort of kind of break down. And even though Gilbert might not be the most experienced, I know that's his default style of play, is to shut things down. So as much as I wanted Boquist to, I think Dennis Gilbert can at least be a viable Murphy replacement for the time. But if he has to do literally anything more than a week more than what he's asked to do, I think things are going to go to shit real fast.
Yeah, and I mean, that's why I wasn't necessarily outraged that he got the call. And I wanted Boquist, but when you lose a defensive defenseman like Murphy, you kind of have to replace him with somebody that plays a similar game. So I kind of see where they were going. I get it. I don't necessarily have a problem with it, even if it's not my first choice. And again, I honest to God think Gustafson is playing him. So he's been so bad that I really do think he is playing his way out of the lineup. And I think Boquist will be up replacing him sooner rather than later if this pace of play keeps up.
Well, just imagine if there's another injury.
We hope.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, not hope.
No, that's not.
Yeah, but just hope that Gustafson actually is stupid enough, which is it might as well be, to play himself out of the lineup. No, I do not wish injury on Eric Gustafson.
And also, now that I heard that, yeah, I would put Gilbert with Keith.
You think so?
Like, Keith is the most mobile out of the least mobile that we have.
I would say I would try DeHaan first, but if you had to, you really, really wanted to keep DeHaan with Gustafson, which I think is probably the best choice, then you
keep
might as
that
well
for now.
Yeah, you might as well go ahead. Just test it out for a game because it might be what you have to fall
watch
back on.
Mata and Seabrook be the only pair that sticks for the whole year.
I swear to God. I swear to God. I will fucking pull a Bud Dwyer
Also,
on this podcast one day.
I'm just tagging in before Eric Gustafson scores a goal that wins the Blackhawks the cup this year.
I'll bet you
And we're
all
all
the money
just
in
like,
my
dude,
wallet
56
that's
is awesome.
never gonna happen.
We're wearing matching jerseys.
I will give you
This guy
10,000 to 1 odds. I'll give you 10,000 to 1 odds.
Okay, I'll bet $1.
Sounds good. I guess we could move on to something a little bit more positive, but Kirby Dach has actually been one bright spot in this lineup. To me personally, like his first game, even though he wasn't like insanely noticeable, he wasn't like stupid. Like he didn't make any like rookie mistakes, you know.
Right.
I mean, I expect them out of him. You know, he had a couple boners, but you know, it's fine. You know, that's what you expect out of a kid playing his first NHL game. My overall point was he looked like he at least belonged. In his second game, that kid looked like, you know, in a different tone of voice, he belonged. You know what I'm saying?
He was excellent.
Yeah, he was very, very good. He is definitely the guy they want slotted behind Taves in the future. Tommy, I'm going to defer to you really quick to talk more about this.
Yeah, I mean, his first game, I thought he was fine. He wasn't necessarily noticeable, but that's not a bad thing. Sometimes you're not noticed because you're doing the right things, and that's. I just think he was a little nervous, tried to play very conservative, tried to just do the little things, and I had no issue with that. A quiet first game, but the other night he was outstanding. He got his first NHL goal. I mean, I know it just hit him in the shin, but he was standing in the right spot. You know, where do you go if you want to score? You go to the paint. That's where he was. He made an excellent pass to DeBrincat late in the game. He played some pretty solid defense, I thought. You know, he used his size. He won a battle in the corner and set up Kane for a great shot in his not the second game, but his first game. He won a battle in the corner and set up Kane in the slot. I mean, he's doing things the way they're supposed to be done. He's playing great. I think after the way he played the other night against Vegas, you don't even consider sending him back to juniors. I think he deserves to be here to stay for the rest of the year, and I hope that's the route they take.
I was going to add, like, had Marc-Andre Fleury been more like his normal self, which I will go on record and say is not great, or had he been a little bit more lucky, you could go either way. That game that he had last night easily could have been a 3 or 4 point game.
Yeah,
for an 18-year-old.
Kane almost set him up with a wide open net. He crashed the crease, and Kane had a pass go straight through, and then it got blocked off the last minute. Dach literally had a tap in. He had a great save on. I believe the pass Dach made was to DeBrincat. I'm pretty sure.
Yes,
that he made a save on. Easily could have been a 3-4 point game. I 100% agree. Marc-Andre Fleury was awesome the other night. And Dach looked like you said, like he belonged, and I hope that they stick with him for the rest of the year. I really don't need to see him go back to juniors.
Johnny, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I just think that what was it? What game did he score his first goal? Washington or no?
Vegas the other night.
Vegas,
the other night.
That was he. Like you guys said, he looked like he could do it all. He was doing everything, and he scored. And then his next shift, he looked like a fucking moron. But still, he's 18 years old. He's gonna make a couple mistakes, but overall, he looked really good.
And I looked at Natural Stat Trick last night.
He's a big boy too.
Their line that they had down there with him in center is actually like one of the better possession lines that they had pretty much in all situations. They had a lot of chances, and I you know what, Tommy, I'm going to mostly agree with you. I think he should be on the team. He definitely looks like he belongs. He definitely looks like he should get the longer look. If he does fall off these next like few games or so, I say maybe consider sending him back to juniors. But other than that, I mean, it looks like he knows the system. It looks like, you know, he knows where he needs to be. He's definitely got the NHL frame. You know, he's 6'4", you know, like 210 or something like that. He's not a small kid at all. Honestly, if he could keep using his size to his advantage in any way, shape, or form, I think he could man that third line center spot just fine.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I also think it might not be the worst idea if they want to throw him on the wing. I mean, I wouldn't be against that. I like right now they have Strome. Right now they got Strome on the wing, and I don't like that at all. I don't understand that. I think if you're choosing between the two of them to play wing, I think it's Doc. I think it's easier to break into the league as a winger than as a center. So I think
Doc has a bit more speed too.
You go
Yeah.
comp on that. You go comp third line center and then Doc on his wing.
I mean, yeah, that'd be
That's
something
what
I mean, I'm just saying I don't think if you're trying to find a spot for him in the lineup, I don't think putting him on wing to start his 18-year-old season is the worst idea.
I agree. And speaking of Kampf, John, you mentioned Kampf. He definitely, like, I know we've had questions about his place on this team, but man, that Saad, Kampf, and Kubalik line has been like crazy good.
They've been the best, most consistent line on the team all year, just possession wise, shutting down the other team's top line. That game against Edmonton last week, they shut down Connor fucking McDavid the entire game. Like that line had 2 shots on goal the entire game. Like, are you kidding me? Like you almost didn't even notice him out there.
Right there, you're shutting down.
Yeah.
And that's David Kampf,
it's been
fourth
outstanding.
line center, apparently no purpose on this team.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll admit I said before the season started I didn't have too much of a use for him. I watched him play last year. It was kind of like, I could take or leave him, but he's really elevated his game.
Game after the Oilers and be like, all right, this kid sticks.
Right, and the way he started the season out right now has been awesome to watch. He looks like a true shutting out center, and that's, I mean, they need that. Like every because first of all, it takes the pressure off Taves. Taves doesn't have to be the guy to do that anymore. He'll get some more favorable matchups to get his offense going. Yeah, if he can keep this up the rest of the year, that'd be awesome. That'd be huge.
In my opinion, he's kind of like a Manny Malhotra. I don't know if you guys remember.
There's a name.
Oh
yeah.
But he's the guy who can win faceoffs and take those top competition matchups and just shut people down. Like, that is his specialty. Like, he might not be the most gifted offensively. I understand that, but that's not necessarily his role, especially if he's playing in a more limited role where, it's all defensive zone draws. You need that guy on a team. You need that guy on a Stanley Cup contender, because you know what? As much as you want to shed him, as much as you want to criticize him for not being able to score, that's not his game. You see the last few games, like the last few not games, cups, the Hawks have won. Like, Patrick Kane's great, Jonathan Taves is great, Dustin Byfuglien was great, fucking Marian Hossa is great, but what it really falls on are people like not to sound too meatballish here, but it's like David Kampf, David Boland, Andrew Desjardins, to an extent Andrew Shaw.
John Madden was the guy in 2010. Like
John Madden, exactly. Marcus Kruger, those guys. You need those players on your team to put you over the top. And so I know we had a question about this. We're answering it now, and I'll actually pull it up here because it's one I took a bit of note of. It was, why is Carlton hellbent on making Kampf a thing? Due to zero offensive upside, when he should be limited to a shutdown role in PK duty.
So that's a question for me. Yeah, that's a question for me that I think was fair to ask before the season started. But watching the first 7 games of the year, the way that he's played, the way he shut down McDavid, I don't know how you could ask that question if you watched even a single game this year. I don't understand that one. I'm just going to say that.
I understand it. Like, if he's obviously centering Saad and Kubalik. I know the offense isn't there, but Saad bum-slaying like second and third line guys with Kubalik, who's turning out to be
have you seen Kubalik's shot?
Yeah, one of their better European imports. Like, I'd honestly say better than Cahoon.
Oh, Kubalik is miles out of Cahoon, and I like Cahoon.
Yeah, definitely.
I like Cahoon too, but no, he's like that guy. All he needs to do is win faceoffs and pick up some of the defensive slack. Even though there's a lot of ass and a lot of defensive ability on that line.
That back check he had the other night was
he is lifting the heavy.
That was
weight.
a Hossa back check. Yeah.
Oh, that was a Hossa back check for sure. And holy shit, like, I know Saad has been great. I'm a Brandon Saad lover until the day I die, but that guy can do everything Saad does. But Saad puts the puck in the net. I know people want to shit on Saad, but he got 24 goals last year. He's not a slouch. I think he's every bit as defensively equal as Saad is.
And nobody's asking Kampf to pop in 30 goals this year. He's not the guy on that line that you're expecting offense out of. It's the wingers. And coming into the year, I think me and Tommy were in agreement that we didn't really see Kampf's place on this team. But yeah, after you watch the first few games, it's fairly obvious that Saad can do a bit of both. Kampf's a defensive guy, and Kubalik has a rocket, and that's a great line so far.
I just wanted to transition to this a little bit, but the penalty kill is actually like those few guys, like the Carpenters, Sods, and Comps, are the reason that penalty kill is actually like kind of functioning right now, because the defense still seems to be blowing every single assignment possible.
Yeah, it wasn't a good start from the penalty kill, and then if you look at the numbers, it's still not great. But I think over the last couple games, they've looked a lot better. Yeah. They're in position a lot better. I mean, what's the main goal of penalty kill? Is to prevent entries and to keep all the play to the outside of the circles. And the first couple games of the season, they were not doing either. The last couple games, I've seen a lot better structure. I've seen a lot better execution as far as that goes. And Ryan Carpenter, that dude plays his dick off. He's been outstanding to start the year. I think he leads the team in shorthanded minutes, actually. He's been awesome. Camp on the penalty kill, awesome. Saad, awesome. Zach Smith, when he was in the lineup, I know he's been scratched the last couple games. He looked pretty good out there too. The numbers aren't pretty right now just because they got off to another bad start, but I think it's trending in the right direction.
Carpenter is definitely that guy that they can look to take a lot of faceoffs on the penalty kill and win them. Defensively, he's been nothing short of a stalwart. Like, again, hate to get too meatballish, but the dude is an ideal fourth line sort of guy. And honestly, I think if you do slot Doc into that, second line center or third line center role, and then slot Strome back into second line center, then man, your top 9 is real competitive, because the way that you could shape the lines up is put a lot of talent in your top 6, like Saad and Kubalik with Taves, and then put DeBrincat and Strome with Kane, and then it'd be Nylander, Doc, and Shaw, which would be great. I think this is another one of our questions: is how would I form the forward lines? This is how I would do it. And then that fourth line would be a combination of something like Kampf, Carpenter, and whoever you want on the right wing. Yeah, Drake Kajula, that'd be a sick addition on that fourth line. Zach Smith, he might not be the greatest player in the world, but that is a great penalty killer right there. You can rotate whoever you want into that winger center position, and they're going to perform on the fourth line, because holy shit, like that top 9 is so good. I'm convinced it's so good that your fourth line would be probably as good as it's been since 2013. The defense is a different story, and we already did that song and dance for this podcast. But man, if there's any positive Hawks news, like if they rearrange the lines and Doc is here to stay, that team looks good.
Yeah, I do not like the way that the forward lines are set up right now at all. I like, aside from the Camp Kubalik Saad line, like he doesn't have it. Colin does not have it set up right. DeBrincat and Taves, for whatever reason, do not play well together. It's just not. They don't mesh well. I don't know. Neither one of them have found their game with each other. Dylan Strome looks lost without Alex DeBrincat, which is to me a little bit concerning, because you're talking about a guy that you might pay this summer, and he does not look good at all without DeBrincat. And I think DeBrincat looks. He had a couple rough games these last 2 days, but I don't know. You need to have how Strome, DeBrincat, and Kane are on a second line right now. I have no idea why you refuse to go to that. And when was Taves at his best? Was with Saad on his wing when they were winning that 2013 Cup, that 2015 Cup.
Yep.
I don't know how this is not. I know we talked about how good the Camp Kubalik Saad line is, but I think you got to break that up to get more out of the top 6, because right now their bottom six is carrying them, and you're not going very far if you're getting carried by your bottom six. So you gotta shuffle the line up a little bit. You got to get a better top six going, and I think Taves, Saad, Kubalik top line with Strome, DeBrincat, and Kane is the perfect top six. And
that should be the set top six, and just rotate the bottom six.
Yes,
however you want.
Yes.
And just to interject something really quick, I know I said that it's important to have a good bottom six. I'm not saying rely on the bottom six, just so everybody else knows. I know, Tommy, that's not what you're getting at.
Right.
But yeah, exactly. I agree completely. Johnny, did you have anything?
Well, yeah, you guys were talking about the forward, the top nine, how good the top nine is. I think Robin Leonard mentioned it at his post-game interview the other day. Like, he believes in it, like, how he believes in the group. I'm serious. If they had one, or I guess two, any kind of defensemen that are just reliable, this is like one of the best teams in the league. I'm not trying to sound all homerish, but the forwards are insane. It's a great group of forwards. Like the top six and bottom six are just a great.
And the one thing
I'm kind of blowing them right now, but
no, it's true though, because
it's the potential that I see.
The one thing that's encouraging about that is if you have like a Dahan and whoever sort of line or pairing, then Keith, as long as he's paired with somebody like
Erik
a Murphy. Well, I was gonna say not really. Erik Karlsson would be awesome, but like if he's paired with somebody like a Murphy, like that's a viable top pair line or top pair line. Like that can be passable for this Hawks system. Like, granted, I want to be a little bit more mobile, and I'm still not convinced that Gilbert can get the job done in any capacity. But like, maybe it comes via trade, maybe it comes from within the system. God forbid. But if Keith can replicate that sort of success he used to have with Seabrook on a top pair, and Murphy comes back healthy and Dahan can keep doing what he's doing, Mata can still be a very solid bottom pair
defender.
Yeah, and Seabrook can just go stand in a corner. I think that's like a pretty solid, don't you think?
It's just me that I'm like, Mata and Seabrook have been good, that are better than expected. Not good, but okay. I'm just saying you have them two, and them two, and then Gustafsson. That's half of your defense right there. Is just, you can improve that. That can easily get better. And it's not just Boakfist. It's adding, like you said, maybe a trade or something.
Dahan has been everything I expect him to be. He looks really good out there. I said the other day, he's like you don't really notice out there, but that's a good thing because he does all the right things, and that you're going to get the most out of him every shift. He's going to be in the right position. He's going to make the right plays, and you don't necessarily notice him out there, but that doesn't mean that he's not playing well. It's a good thing that you don't notice him because he kind of flies under the radar, but he's been awesome.
Yeah, I just I want to stay positive about this defense because if you squint, it might be able to work. But
if you squint, they should be able to score enough goals. Get good enough goaltending.
They're always going to have horrific defensive errors.
Yeah, we thought they were going to be like 6-5 every game, and we're losing 2-1 to Vegas.
Here's my question, and we talked about this a little bit a couple weeks ago, but is it a system thing or is it a personnel thing? Because I think we would all agree that yes, the personnel is not great as far as the defense goes, but holy shit, does this defensive system suck? You cannot play a man-to-man defensive system when you have no speed. You can't do it. You cannot play a man-to-man system when you have no speed. And Carlton, for some reason, thinks that this is like what they need to be doing. They don't understand it, and they can't keep up with it. And all the talk last year was, he needed a training camp. Well, he got his fucking training camp this year. We're in game, roughly, 75 with Jeremy Carlton, and they still don't get his defensive system. They can't execute it. I mean, that's not just the defenseman. That goes for the forwards too that don't seem to understand. Like, we're 7 games into the season, and Jonathan Taves has already blown his coverage twice, leading directly to goals late in the game because he has no idea what he's supposed to be doing. We're talking about a guy that's won a Selke trophy. We're talking about a guy that's been a Selke finalist multiple times that has no idea what he's supposed to be doing in the defense end for parts of games. And man, the system just sucks. I mean, I don't want to give too much credit to the defenseman,
starts shooting at you. Sorry, you're not ripping Jonathan Taves like people will think. You're ripping this system, and it's
right.
People are going to take that the wrong way. Brent Seabrook the other night was behind the net, and it was just a guy standing right out front. It's not working.
It's true. I mean, this is kind of what I've been tweeting about. This is kind of what I've been tweeting about earlier. Is like, why wouldn't you bring up a guy like a Bodan, a Boquist, a Chris, a Holm, even a Carlson, and whoever, or even a Tualola? But I just
Sorella.
Sorella, rest in peace. Yeah,
pour one out.
But no, it's like those guys are much younger, much more mobile, much more not maybe adept to defensive play, but they're more adept to your system by default just because they have speed.
I guess my larger question was, if they hypothetically got rid of this man system and played more of a zone, do the defensemen that they have, still not great, look better? Because I think the answer is yes.
I think they do, because they don't have to move as much.
Right.
And you do not want Seabrook, Mata, Gustafsson moving like at all.
Right.
And as long as they're suppressing shots to the net, even having like a collapsing defense around the net, I do not give a shit. Do not make them move. Do not make them have assignments they can't miss.
Yeah,
because it's gonna happen.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not calling this group of Hawks defensemen good, but what I'm saying is it's the job of the coach to put the players in the best position to succeed, and I don't think he's doing that.
No, Carlton has not done that at all. At all. I mean, you see it every fucking goddamn night. It's like they're down by a goal, or they're tied, or some bullshit like that, or maybe they have a lead by one. Thank God they have a lead by one late into the third period sometimes. And who is out there on the fucking ice? Who is out there? Oli Mata, Slater Cuckoo, Brent Seabrook, Erik Gustafsson, you name it. They're out there. They're taking the fucking goddamn hard assignments for whatever reason. I do not give a shit what you think that they can be or who they have been. And 3 cups passed, 2 cups passed, 1 cups passed, no cups passed. There is no circumstance where you should have any of those fucking goddamn players out on the ice for any period of time in the last 2 minutes of a game. Period.
Amen.
I think we all agree on that.
All right.
It really steams my goddamn beans, okay?
Let's go Hawks. Let's go.
Fucking A, dude. I got some fucking hair in my chest now.
Let's start a game right now, 12:18 in the morning. Drop the puck.
Oh, no, it's it's frustrating, to say the least, as I say that with a very soft inflection. But no, they should, if they really take their man system seriously, their first mission is calling up a kid who has speed, Bodan or Boquist, and then, for the love of God, sign Ian Mitchell.
I mean, when your Hall of Fame forwards are not even understanding this system, like, what the fuck does that tell you? You know what I mean? Like, come on. Yeah.
Jonathan Taves ain't stupid. He's probably looking at this like.
We're talking about Jonathan Taves. The dude is going into the Hall of Fame. He's one of the best defensive forwards to ever do it, and he has no idea what he's supposed to be doing in coverage in some of these situations.
It is a system problem. I wanted to get into the prospect roundup just to give some people some positivity. Michael Tepley, power forward, Winnipeg Ice, WHL, 11 points in 11 games. It's very, very good. If you're pushing point per game in the dub, that means you're probably close to, being a professional at some point. And this kid's definitely got the size and skill. Jakob Galvis in the Eucharit in the Liga, 9 points in 15 games, still on a pretty hot pace for a two-way defender. He's looking really good. I think he gets a real long-looking camp next year. Like I said last time I mentioned him, Ian Mitchell, nothing but a beast. Two-way demon, offensive defender as well. 7 points in 6 NCAA games for University of Denver. Please expect him to be signed in the spring, because this kid is the real deal.
I think he's going to sign.
Artur Kayumov hasn't scored a point pretty much the last time I mentioned him, which is typical. He's got 5 points in 19 games now for Lokomotiv Yaroslav in the KHL. Evan Barrett has 3 points in his first NCAA games, which is nice because he's a very, very good playmaker. Jake Wise, noted draft steal, 3 points in 3 games after he came off a very, very horrible injury last year where he only played in 12 NCAA games with 2 points, both of which being assists. All 3 points of this year also being assists, but still he's got a lot of potential. I like him a lot. Josh S is a guy I've been saying to watch out for as like a bottom tier defender. 2 points in 4 games for Wisconsin-Madison. And everybody else seems to be playing pretty well in their respective leagues and in Rockford and what have you. And I guess from here on, we can move into questions because I really wanted to at least generate some positivity in this podcast and say, you know what, the kids are all right. Even if this year sucks, I know we say there's always next year, but to a degree, there really is. So, thoughts on this is from Amanda at Amanda_M915. She says, thoughts on the goalie sharing responsibilities so far and possibly us keeping Leonard hopefully past the season. Tommy, I feel like that's more directed at you. I'm going to let you lead off with this one.
Yeah, I agree with them splitting time. I think they're each going to get pretty close to 50-50 split when all is said and done. What I don't like is the seemingly just rotating every other game thing. I don't care for that at all. I think you need to put someone in there, let them stick for a little bit, and then have their, play their way out of the net, have the next guy come in, play a couple games. I don't like this every other game kind of thing he's got going on right now. I'm hoping it's kind of an early season thing, and then one guy kind of settles in, in the coming games here. But as far as the goaltending situation goes, Corey Crawford has gotten so much hate from the fans so far this year, and I just don't get it because he hasn't played bad. Like, if you look at the goals allowed on him, it seems like every time it's a defensive breakdown or some piece of shit blown assignment that ends up costing him. I think Corey Crawford's been perfectly fine this year, but on the flip side, I think Robin Leonard's been outstanding. I think he's been the better goalie. He was awesome the other day up until he gave up that game tying goal, which was terrible, by the way. That is a horrible goal to give up. But overall, I think Robin Leonard has shown why they went out and got him. I think he's been outstanding. I really like his attitude. If I'm sure you guys heard his comments the other night, I thought those were awesome. I think he's the goalie of the future. I think he gets a long-term deal at the end of the season.
John, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I don't think. I just want everyone to stop hating on Corey Crawford. I mean, like, Robin Leonard looks like a god for half of a game, and so everyone wants him to play every single game for the rest of the year. But like, it's not like Crawford's letting in 7 goals a night. Like, he's been fine. And I do think they get 50-50 at the end of the year as well. Ride the hot hand.
To your point, Crawford hasn't had a decent defense in front of him since 2014. And I say 2014 because that's the last time they had, their top 6 actually rounded out. Like we
don't talk about 2014 here though.
Or
like
2015 though.
2014 might not have actually happened. We're not sure.
Their top 6 in 2015 wasn't that great. If everybody remembers, like, they had
4 defensemen in 2015.
It was carried by Duncan Keith being the
literally
best
never leaving the ice.
The decade.
Do we remember when Kyle Comiskey played in the Stanley Cup final game?
Exactly. Yeah, that's my point.
I'm pouring another one out.
Oh man,
fallen hero.
Shit. No, I mean Corey Crawford has not had a decent defense on this team in 5 years. I don't know how people haven't realized that. I don't know how people continue to blame him, but
he hasn't been bad. Like, he hasn't been great, but he hasn't been bad. And like, it's just like whenever he's in there, like, they expect him to stop everything. Like, that's not how it works. Yeah.
Enjoy him while you still got him.
You gotta blame Crawford. It's not going well.
This is the last year he's gonna be here, for fuck's
sake.
Can
you imagine the reaction? What the reaction would have been had Crawford given up the game tying goal the Leonard gave up the other day and then lost.
And his shootout performance.
He would have been pilloried.
Shootout was
especially because Crawford is great at shootouts.
Yeah.
Leonard got undressed. They should have just swapped in Crawford.
By a defenseman. Like,
great game. All right, now Crawford's doing the shootout.
Please, I'm begging people to just give this man the respect he deserves since last season in Chicago. Please.
Moving on to the next question from Zach Miller at Kirby Doc Boquist season spelled SZN. What do you think happens to Erik Gustafsson after next season? I think he's gone. There's
He's
black
absolutely
hole.
no way he's a Blackhawk next year. Yeah, he literally turns into a black hole.
He is
He's going to
100%
be skating
gone.
minutes in Columbus.
He's 100% gone for one of two reasons. He somehow finds his offensive game, and based on the first 7 games, I'm not convinced that happens. But if it does, they're not going to be able to afford him in free agency, so he's gone. Or B, he sucks so bad this year, like he has so far, and they're not going to want him back, and he's gone. So this is his last season team, regardless of what happens.
John, you have anything to add to that?
No, I agree.
Okay, I don't have much to add. I think he's not here next year, and he's signed by some dipshit team like Edmonton for $6+ million. It's set in stone. This is happening.
Speaking of Edmonton, Daniel, do you know that you motherfucked James Neal, right?
A little bit.
He has 9 goals.
I did say he would get at least 25 goals with McDavid just sleeping on his wing, which it looks like it's going to be a thing.
On opening night, I tweeted he's popping in 30 this year, and he's already got 9.
Time. Yeah, he's getting up there. But Thomas Yurko, they've tried.
Oh, yes.
And Edmonton fans are still mad at me for saying that they're going to try and make him a thing, which they have, and he's
that guy fucking sucks. Holy
anyway,
shit.
No, yeah. We already answered the first half of this question, was how'd you set the forward lines? We already kind of went through that, but the second half was from Gen B at Gen Z 75. What would you do to improve the penalty kill? And to be honest, I have no idea.
God, nobody who
I mean, that's the one place where I'll give Jeremy Colleton some slack, is because holy shit, man.
I guess send a player to the box.
Yeah, I was gonna say if Murphy were healthy, I would not deploy Brent Seabrook like at all. But that's not going to be the case anymore. It's going to be Murphy DeHaan and then like fucking, Mata Seabrook again. And it's going to look terrible, but that's what they got to roll with now. And I understand that. So I really don't know. Maybe make it more of like a collapsing, shot blocky defense, because it seems to be what they're good at.
I'd like to see him try to force the other team to the outside more, because I feel like they get a lot of their looks from inside the circles, and that is the exact.
That's true.
That is the exact opposite of what you want. And also, they're not very good at stopping entries on the power play. And
no, not at all. They're not exactly good at clearing those entries either. So
no, as far as a personnel thing goes, I think you work with what you have, and I think that's what they're doing right now. I think they're icing the best forwards for that, and I think they're trying to get by with the defense. For me, it's more of a strategic thing. They've got to do a better job at stopping those entries, and they've got to do a better job at keeping teams to the top of the circle and to the outside of the circles, because there's just way too much happening in close when they're shorthanded. So for me, it's more of a strategy thing, honestly.
Yeah, it's definitely the one place where I'll excuse Colleton and his coaching staff for not really being able to come up with much, because holy shit, dude, that penalty kill is going to be heinous.
Like the forwards look okay when they're inside their own zone.
Yeah, and this is what I was talking about earlier. Like those Carpenters, your Sods, your Comps, they're all carrying that penalty kill to what little success they have.
Another
that
thing,
blue line is horrid.
Yeah, another thing too on the penalty kill is I feel like they never win faceoffs. You win a faceoff on a penalty kill, you shoot it down the ice, and you take 20, 30 seconds off the clock just like that. And I feel like they always lose that first draw. So for me, it's more of a strategy thing than anything.
Yeah, I agree. And to be honest, that's all the questions we got. And I know we kind of answered a few during airtime, and we only got to a couple at the end. But like, did you guys have any final thoughts?
I mean, how are we feeling? Like we're 7 games in here. I think we would all agree.
Man.
The Avalanche are 7-1-1. Like, it's early.
Yeah, I mean, I think we would all agree that they deserve to win yesterday. They deserve to be walked in. So, I mean, if they win those 2 games, we're feeling good, right? I mean, I think it's trending in the right direction. I think fix the forwards, get the offense going, get the top 6 going.
It's a son of a bitch of a schedule, my friend. I mean,
most of these games are at home, though. They should.
Yeah, this is their. They 7 straight.
Check this out. No, they're actually on the back end of that now.
Yeah, tomorrow's the last home game.
They've got Flyers tomorrow at home, and
that's the last one.
Then they're on the road for 3 of 4, where they go to Hurricanes and they take a long flight back to Chicago to play the Kings, and then they go to Nashville, and then all the way over to LA, Anaheim, who is hot this year, the Sharks, who no matter how bad their defense is, they won't beat. Then they come back home to play the Canucks, who have a much better, I would say all-around team than what they have currently.
They've looked pretty good.
Yeah, they have. And then they got the Penguins, who I want to say they'll smoke.
Dominic Cahoon-led Penguins.
It's the Dominic Cahoon revenge game. And then they got the Maple Leafs, where if they take a penalty, they'll be screwed.
God.
And then they got the Golden Knights, who they haven't beaten 7 decisions. The Predators again, a very hot Sabres team. The juggernaut fucking Hurricane possession team again.
That's what I mean. This is their chance.
And then the fucking Stars for 2 games, who suck. But that whole in between Stars and what we got now, if they were going to pick up wins, this would have been the time to do it, but they did not do it at all.
Yeah, I mean, best case scenario, they're walking out of a 7-game homestand with 3 wins. That's not good.
That's horrible, man.
Yeah.
That's really bad.
But
we're going to Carolina on Saturday.
I still say they played really good. I don't believe in moral victories, but if you look at their last 2 games, you can kind of see where it's starting to trend in the right direction. So I'm just hoping
they look like a good team.
Yeah, so they passed the eye test. I'm sure they passed some of the advanced stats tests that I've not looked at. But I don't know, man. If they get that top 6 rolling, I think they'll be all right.
Johnny, do you have any closing thoughts?
Beat the Flyers.
All right, is that it?
I think that's a good way to go out.
Okay, my closing thoughts are Erik Gustafsson's fucking advanced statistics.
Let's go 56.
Statistics. Stat line. I'm sorry, I'm not in the right frame of mind to recite numbers right now, but I'm doing it anyway. 7 games played, 4 points, all assists, 51.5%, excuse me. Offensive zone face-off percentage. 45.4 CF4, Corsi 4, excuse me, at even strength. A 110.1% PDO. If you know what that means, what it translates down to is that Erik Gustafsson has been playing like fucking trash, and he's been getting lucky doing it. That infuriates me, and I'd love to see what people have in the tank next for Boqvist not being able to be on this team for whatever goddamn reason, considering Boqvist can actually skate, Boqvist can actually flip the ice, Boqvist can shoot, Boqvist has vision, Boqvist has everything light years ahead of Erik Gustafsson. I'm Daniel, and for Tommy and Johnny, this has been One for the Dagger podcast. We hope you have a good night. Shit.